Hey guys, today I'm going to be teaching you how to create an array of structures. We are going to be learning this by creating an array of structures called books that will store the details of different books like the title, author and price. Okay, and along with this we will actually create these structures using dynamic memory allocation. So in this way we will also learn how to use the function malloc. Basically we will be dynamically allocating the memory for a struct and storing the pointer to that struct in the array. So let's get started. I'm writing the basic structure of the program. Alright, now before I start anything inside the main, we should make our struct global. By global I mean we should define our struct outside the main, not inside the main. Otherwise we will be able to access our struct only inside the main. The functions that are outside it won't be able to access, and that will create an error. The name of our struct will be book because it stores the details of the book. What can be the details? Like title, which will be stored using char data type. Let's assume that the length will be 10, or let's change it to 20. Then the author. I'll make this 10 for now. Then price. These are the basic things or the basic details of any book, right? And don't forget a semicolon. Now let's go back to our main. Now this array should store the pointers to the structures. So this is a little different because our array contains pointers, not structures. They contain pointers to the structures. So we should define our array using struct book star and books. The size will be 100. Now why have we put this star here? This is because our array of structures contains pointers, and it contains pointers to this struct book here. It doesn't directly contain the structure, it contains the pointer to the structure. That is why whenever you declare an array containing pointers to the elements, then you should put a star here, okay? And the name of the array is books. Now let's create a variable n, and this is going to be storing the number of books. By number of books I mean the number of books in the array. And we will be asking the user to enter it. Now I want to create another function which will read all these values into this array. So it will take the input from the user for each and every value like title, author and price, and side by side it will also add it to the array. So let's name this function input. And this input function will take two arguments. One is the name of the array of the pointers to the structures, that is books, and other is the length of the array, that is the number of books. That is going to be the length of the array. Now in C you would know that we have to create a function prototype as well. Now this function is not going to return anything. It's simply going to read the values. So it's going to be void. This is the main part to understand what will be the parameters of the function. As I told you, the arguments will be the array, right? Now one thing that you should always remember is that the name of the array, it always points to the first element of the array. Okay, so like suppose if the name of the array is books, then this is going to point to the first element of the array. And what is the first element of the array? A pointer to the structure in this case. That means that whenever I'm going to pass this books in this function, this is actually a pointer to the first element of the array. That means it's a pointer to a pointer, which is in turn pointing to the structure. So again I'll say this is pointing to a pointer to a structure. We need a pointer to a pointer that points to a structure. So what should we pass as a parameter? It should be struct book, name of the structure, and double star p. You can name it anything. If you want, you can name it books as well, but let's name it p for now. What this means is p is pointing to a pointer that points to a structure, and since it is pointing to a pointer itself, that's why we have to put 2 stars. Let me explain you guys in a better way so that you understand what I mean by a pointer to a pointer and why I have used 2 stars. Suppose this is an integer variable and I have stored the value 1. Okay, I stores 1. Now I'm creating a pointer and an integer pointer, and now this integer pointer is storing the address of I. Alright, now suppose I create another pointer int. Suppose imagine s is another pointer, and now I want to store the address of p. That means I'm storing the address of p, which is a pointer itself, and s is also a pointer. So I should define this in a different way so that C can understand that this is not a pointer to an integer. This is a pointer to a pointer itself, which is pointing to an integer. So that is why I should declare it in a different way. That is int star star s. That means s is pointing to a pointer, which in turn is pointing to an integer. That's why you also put int. I hope you guys understood. By this, let me also show you what will happen if I print. Suppose if I just want to print using p, print the value of I using p, then I have to type star p. What does star do? It accesses the value at that address, and p stores the address of I. It goes there and star extracts the value. So the output will be 1. Let us see. Output is 1. Okay, 1 using p. Yeah. Now suppose I want to print the same 1 using s. So %d, and I'm going to be printing this using s. Alright. You guys also pause the video and guess what I should type here. So I have to type star star s for this to work. Now why do you think I have to do that? Because, okay, suppose if I remove 1 star, this means s is storing the address of p. Now I put a star. Then it will go to what value is stored in the address of p. So this star s is actually the address of I. Now I want to print the value of I, not the address of I. So I have to put one more star to indicate print the value of I by going to the address of I. That is why I need to put 2 star. I hope you guys understood. After some time, when you practice more and get familiar with this concept, then you will understand. Now let's go back to our code. So I hope you understand this is not a normal array of structures. This array of structures stores pointers, not the original structure itself. It is storing the pointer to that structure. That is why I had to define the array in this way, by putting a star. That indicates it's storing pointers, not normal structures or elements. It's storing pointers. Let me explain you one more thing. This array stores 1, 2, 3 in it, right? But this is a normal array. Suppose if I want to store an array containing pointers to the integers, so then I have to declare it by putting a star after int and then naming it ARR. Alright, and suppose the length is 5. This is how I declare it. This differentiates it from a normal array of integers. Right. And let's declare this array after we create this pointer. Okay, and let's suppose I create one more variable 2 and I store the pointers. Okay, let's suppose I create q, another integer pointer, which will store the pointer to j. Alright, now let me add the elements. Now this is an array of pointers, 2 integers. So I'm going to be storing p, q. Okay, these are pointers to integers. Now this is our array. Suppose I want to print the values of the array. Let's remove this now. Let's make the size 2. And since they are pointers to arrays, so how will I access the values? Pause the video and tell me. Right, you will access the values using star because they are pointers. Star of ARR I. Okay, that is how we access each element. What should be our output? We should get 1, 2. Yes, we are getting the output 1, 2. So what is the difference in this array? This array is storing pointers to integers. That is why I put a star to make you understand that this is not a normal array. It is storing pointers. Similarly, in this program also we are creating an array which is storing pointers to a structure. The only difference is it is storing a pointer to a structure, not integer. Okay, that's why we put struct here. I hope you guys understood it better now. And why we have put 2 stars? Because you're passing this array to a function. And you know that whenever you pass an array to a function, you're actually passing a pointer to the first element of the array. So you're passing a pointer, which is a pointer itself to a structure. That's why we need 2 stars. So what will be the second parameter? N. And while writing prototypes, you actually don't have to mention P or N. It's your wish actually. So for now let's mention it so that we don't get confused. And what exactly happened here? Oh, the main disappeared. I don't know how it got deleted. Let's add it again. Right. So this is our program. Now let's create our input function which will read the values. So void input, in which we are going to be passing struct the same parameter as in the prototype. Alright. Now we want to start a for loop until the length of the array. Right. Now inside this for loop, I want to dynamically allot memory for the struct. Each struct that will be added to the array. So how do you dynamically allot memory? Using malloc function. Remember, malloc function always returns a pointer to that memory that you have created. What we are going to do is, we know that an array of structure contains pointers. And how will we access each and every element of the structure? Using P of I, right? And we want to store pointers to the structure in each and every element of the array. That is why P of I should be equal to whatever pointer is returned by the malloc function. Right, one thing I forgot to tell you, while using malloc function you should never forget to include this library. Now let's start. Now malloc function takes the parameter that is size, how much size you want to allocate, the number of bytes of space or memory that you want to allocate for that particular element. Now what am I allocating space for? A structure. So I need to enter the size of the structure. And what is my structure? Struct book, which contains 3 fields, as you can see, title, author and price. So I will allocate space for that specific structure, struct book. And then this malloc function is going to return a pointer to that memory allocated, and that pointer is going to get stored in the array. So this is a for loop, so for each and every book that the user enters, the memory will be allocated. Now along with this, after the memory has been allocated, I should be taking the input from the user for the name of the book and all those details. So let's write. And then we will be adding scanf statements. So we are going to be taking the input for title, then we are going to be taking the input for the author, and then let's just copy paste it. What's this going to be? It's going to be the price. But for price, I should change it to %d, and I should not forget to put ampersand sign. Remember, for string you don't have to put ampersand because string itself is the address of the first element. That means you don't need to pass the address as it's already an address. Okay. Now why have I used an arrow operator? Because the struct in this case is a pointer. To access the elements of a struct, which is itself a pointer, you need to use the arrow operator. Suppose if my P of I was a struct, not a pointer to a struct, then I would have used a dot operator like this. But right now this will give an error because P of I is a pointer, so I can use an arrow operator. Another way I could access this, if I want to use a dot operator, then that would be using star of P of I dot title. This will also work. So I'll leave one of it like this so that you see this will also work. Now our input function has been created. Now we need to create a display function. So let's create a display function. This is going to take the exact same parameters. Let's just copy the prototype, So So that's why I've just copied the prototype and changed the name. Now let's start. Instead of doing this, we could have simply copied this whole thing. Okay, now for display also, we're going to be doing almost the same thing. So let's just copy the for loop, then we'll edit in this. We're obviously not going to be dynamically routing the memory. And book details. And let's write I plus 1. That will mean it will print book details 1. And we have to change all of this to printf and remove the ampersand. Right. That should work. Now let us see if our input and display works properly. First, let's make this look a bit better. And we should definitely put new line character. Make sure that we have a float format specifier. Otherwise your output won't be displayed properly. Now let's compile this. Suppose I'm going to be entering 2 books. Okay, let's just write anything random. And the price is supposed to be 100 or 220. Some other book. Alright. Oh, I didn't save it. Actually, let me tell you why I'm getting the output 0. Because before I had put a format specifier %d for the price. And as you can see in the struct, we have given the type float. So I cannot give %d here, it will make the output 0. Let's hit 2 books. Suppose the title is Rose. So random. The author, we're just concentrating on the output right now. We'll think of the books later. Yeah, it is working now. As you can see, we got the output. It is taking the input correctly. Now, one thing that we can do is to make it look a bit more better, we can write separately. Enter the title. And we can all. Now one problem in this is that suppose if your title is a big word like maybe Pride and Prejudice, then that title contains spaces also in between. But the problem with scanf is that as soon as it encounters a space, it will stop taking the input. So only Pride will be taken, and it could be possible that the word and might be taken in the author. So that will create problem. That's why we need to change this. First, let us write individual scanfs for each and every field. So enter the author. And then we will enter the price. Now there's something called a scan set. This is called a scan set. What this means is that we are telling scanf to take the input as long as you don't encounter a slashing. So that means it will take the spaces as well. As soon as it encounters a new line character, it will stop taking the input. And this percentage should come here. Now one problem could be that there might be residual buffers that might make the scanf not work properly. So we must put getChar to remove those. Now let us enter the title. And now let's enter the price. I hope you guys can see the screen. Let me increase it. Yeah. Price suppose 300. This was for the first book. Now suppose the second book will be Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, and the price suppose 300. So see, now it is stored perfectly. Book details 1, book details 2. And let's just make it look better. Like we can write enter book 1. So that will be done by using I plus 1 So our input function is working pretty well, and our display function is also working. In order to clear the buffer, you could also have used a space instead of getChar. So instead of this getChar, you can put a small space here, one space, that will ignore any new line character that might have been left over in the buffer. So suppose 2 books. Oh, I think I forgot one new line character. And 2 is too much. 1 is enough. You know what? I don't want this to appear like this. No, this is fine. I don't want that for this. Now let's compile it again. So suppose I want 2 books. Now it's telling me to enter the details for book 1. So title is Pride and Prejudice. And the author is Jane Austen. Suppose 300. For book 2, maybe I'll enter Harry Potter. The author is J.K. Rowling. And the price is probably 400. See, it's working now. It's working perfectly. In the display also, you can make it look better by putting one more new line character here. Okay, so let's compile it. Run it one last time. Suppose 2 books. Pride and Prejudice. Jane Austen. The price. And then the next book, Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling. Price is 400. So there you go. You got the book details 1 and book details 2. That will display it. Now if you want, you can print F here as well. The book details. That will look more nice. And one more thing you can do is you can round off the price. Now what we did today, we created 2 functions, input and display. Input will dynamically allot the memory for a struct, and then it will also take the details of the book from the user and store it and then it will store it to the array of pointers to structures. We learned how to create an array that stores pointers to structures. We also learned how to pass it to a function. Then we learned how to dynamically allot memory for a struct. We also learned how to access a field using a pointer to a structure. You can also do that using the star operator, but compared to this looks more better. So I prefer to use this arrow operator, but this will help you learn the concept. Now in the next video, we'll be creating 2 more functions. One for sorting based on the name of the author or the title of the book, or even based on the price. We're also going to be sorting it on the basis that in case the title of the book is same, then you sort it on the basis of author or vice versa. And we'll also be creating a function to search. Suppose if you want to search a particular book, then also you will be learning how to create a function for that. So see you in the next video. Bye.